All right, everyone, I am supposedly live. Who knows if that's actually the case, so people have to tell me, both on YouTube and on Twitch, actually, because I have a Twitch channel. Link in the description for those of you on YouTube. I am actually using that as well now, too. Give a second here. Make sure that things are working. Tell me if I'm live on YouTube, because I'm actually using, for chat purposes, actually the YouTube and the Twitch chats both go to the same place on StreamYard. So I actually need help in learning whether I'm live or not. And if the audio is okay. I already checked the input, so that should be fine. We're 10 minutes out from Jenpsaki circling around over and over again. Chat disabled for their live stream, not for mine though. So we're going to be talking about that goofiness. By the way, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that there was a Colorado state representative was lighting into one of my audience members earlier, and it was very, very funny. And then he made a potentially racial epithet, so we are airing him out. So for all you clankers out there, we're at 1 BLU already. Biden loser unit, 300 viewers. It's about what he gets on a live stream on the White House website, unless it's something major. You can go, if you're on Twitter, which most of you at this point I'm assuming aren't, you can go there and you can help hose down the state representative for Colorado. So the funny thing is his last name is Woodrow, like Woodrow Wilson. You know, the dude I compare Biden to. He had a stroke in office. His wife probably was signing off on legislation, which means that technically speaking, it's not even legally binding, but nobody cares about that because, you know, Woodrow Wilson, globalism and shit. But we will be ridiculing Jenpsaki live. Now, this will be mostly live. The stream on the White House will begin shortly, 10 minutes or something like that, a little bit less, a little bit more. Really depends. It depends on how Jenpsaki's feeling that day. So she'll probably be a little bit late because I can't imagine that the Biden admin people are feeling well. Biden's still tanking in the polls, having a million problems. And it's not just Afghanistan. That'll be, you know, people will ask about that because it's in the news. What about inflation? Nobody's asking them about that. What about the border crisis? Our border czar hasn't even bothered to go and visit the border. HF, take my effing money. Gladly. Jesse Martin, thinking of moving from California to New Hampshire. How will it be an improvement? Culture looks so different but intriguing. Fun places to visit? Visit everything. New Hampshire is great. Free State Project is there. Kaufman is there. Library is based there. I was born in New Hampshire, actually. I was not born in the state of Vermont. I lived the first 24 hours or so of my life in New Hampshire. Very glad for that. G.G. Allen was born in New Hampshire. I don't think you can visit his grave, though, because I think they removed the marker because people kept shitting on it, which he would find infinitely entertaining. I don't know why they did that. It's like, you know, the man didn't give a shit. Apparently believed in reincarnation based on some of his lyrics. Silver Kestrel, Biden has given a list of names of American citizens literally treason. What's the chance of Biden being forced out or resigning? It depends on what public opinion does. If he falls sub 30 in approval, which I don't see happening, at least in the intermediate period, he might get forced out. But the thing is, like, everyone's waiting for him to fall down again anyway and have to resign. Kamala Harris is salivating. Why do you think that he forces her to go ahead of him? It's not because, oh, she is an important part in the administration, first female vice president. No, no, no. It's because they're afraid she'll give him a little bit of a shove. That's why. And everyone knows it. Kamala Harris certainly does. Epic Man 004, Jenpsaki is proof that gingers have no soul. I didn't say that. No, there are plenty of people that are redheaded and perfectly honest and stuff. Look at all the Disney princesses before they were blackwashed. But yes, we are waiting for Jenpsaki here. Assumption is 5 to 10 minutes, roughly. Until then, we can have fun doing other things, namely me ranting. I have my lime water here. If you ever want a nice cleansing drink, just take a lime, cut it in half, and squeeze it into a cold water. That's all you need. But at least here's one silver lining to today. Having to deal with Jenpsaki, it's like she's going to say circle around. She's going to non-answer the press's softball questions because, you know, a softball question to her is very difficult. She's like a deer in the headlights. The good thing is you don't have to suffer through Kamala Harris again. If you don't have to watch Kamala Harris, it's a good day. I'd rather watch Biden. At least he'll occasionally do something entertaining. Like he'll have some major verbal gaffe, or he'll say something totally off the wall that you didn't expect. Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, Jeremy McClure saying, oh, yo, Sticks, did you hear about the shooting in Rutland, Vermont the other day? Yes, actually, my mother appraised me of that situation. So yeah, I'm aware that there was a police-involved shooting in Rutland. The state police, I guess, are probing the incident. Man inside of McDonald's. There was, I think, a fender bender outside or something like that, crashed into a mail truck. My assumption is a New Yorker that was trafficking drugs became non-cooperative because that happens a lot in the Rutland area. So I'm assuming that the person shot was probably not a Vermonter. It'll be hastily buried in the news cycle, but you know, I'll try to give you updates if I get them. Saltness Monster. Biden is the American Jimmy Savile. Now he's more Jimmy Carter, but he's Jimmy Carter if Jimmy Carter were less honest. Carter's whole problem was he was just inept. He was trying, though. Biden's not even trying. I would rather, if the Democrats had fronted Jimmy Carter, I'd be more likely to vote for that ticket than to vote for Joe Biden, actually. They've got a string of complete losers over and over again. They haven't learned their lesson. They need to be smacked in the midterms. They need to be spanked badly. Like a small child that defecates on its own toys or something like that. They need a good spanking. Demented Jimmy Carter. Yeah, Jimmy Carter's in his 90s. He still makes more sense than Joe Biden. Joe Biden, he still blames it on having a stutter. Well, man, I have a stutter and blah, blah, blah. Unpersoned person. Oink away, piggies. Sticks is boring. I guarantee more people will be watching me than are watching the live stream, though, for the White House. 1,500 people right now between YouTube and Twitch. They've got under 800 on the official White House stream, and they disabled chat. The fact that you're here is very telling, my dude. Happens a lot. Many such cases. John Marafa, Jenpsaki, a.k.a. the Raggedy Antichrist. I like that one. She's not intelligent enough to be the Antichrist. Oh, yes, and I should probably, Russian Beast 93, I should probably talk about this very briefly before Psaki at some point, indeterminate point, goes live. Yes, SCOTUS has gone 6-3. The CDC eviction moratorium is gone. And right now, of course, the Democrats are pretending that this is not the responsibility of the Dem-controlled legislature, who was openly admonished by SCOTUS in the initial 5-4 decision to uphold it, to allow it to take its natural course. Kavanaugh, of course, joining the liberal justices. They did nothing. They did not decide to craft legislation to extend the moratorium. It is completely on them. But when things go bad, as we've seen over the last year, the Democrats will grandstand about it, pretend someone else is responsible, and use that to try to get votes. Bunch of grifters. Joe Biden's dentures. Sticks, did you get the invite from Adam Krigler to join him on his stream? There were a dozen clankers sending super chats requesting you. Yes, actually, he did make contact. And so we're going to try to hammer that out. But he is in the United States. I am in the Netherlands. And so the normal time slot, which I think I'd have to be up at like 1 a.m. or something, that doesn't work as much for me. So we're DMing about that. We'll figure it out. But yes, I would like to go on his show. Still waiting for Psaki. Yeah, she's scheduled for like a minute from now, but we'll see how fashionably late she is. Dan E, 2022 perditions. I think you mean predictions. We're in perdition right now. I think that the Democrats will get their asses handed to them. I'm hoping it's by a massive margin, because anything short of that is not going to teach them the lesson that they need to learn. I would like to have a Democratic Party, like a party of JFK thing, where I can entertain the thought of voting Democrat, because the Republican Party is not my natural course. It's not my natural home. I don't believe in the evangelical horse shit. I don't believe in traditionalism in the moral sense, generally speaking. And the Republicans have cocked repeatedly on things like guns and taxes. They don't stand for lower taxes. They just don't want to raise them further. They don't stand for getting rid of existing anti-gun legislation. All they stand for is not adding more insult to injury and passing more gun control. So no, I'm not naturally a Republican. I'd love it if the Democrats came to their senses. It's just that so far they haven't been forced to do so. And that's after several historic losses. So apparently they need another. Miles Shepard. Is Sneed a racist term now? Formerly Chucks. Not yet. I'm sure the SPLC is working on it so they can get more donations, though. John Smith, hello, Sticks. Mason here. I don't believe Biden will run again in 2024. That potato is done for. I agree. I do not believe that Biden will be the Dem candidate in 2024. There is a better than 50-50 chance he's 25th, resigns, has significant health issues that preclude him from running without getting 25th potentially, or dies. He's had several aneurysms. He's had several falls in just the last year. He tried to blame one of them on his dog, which, by the way, there was a separate story. Apparently Major is now gone, one of his German Shepherds from the White House. There are no more German Shepherds in the White House because he attacked and bit at least 8 people. That's what I'm hearing. If that's the case, it's like, I mean, come on. How poorly trained are your dogs? It's because that Biden has them because he wants to feel manly. So he has some German Shepherds. He doesn't know how to train them. He didn't do it himself. His wife probably had to train the fucking dogs. Has to change his socks, get him his fucking food, everything else. Khalid Cooper, 1999, no comment, thank you. Right now, this is the lead up to waiting till Jenpsaki decides to shower us with her presence. Mysticism, fellow pagan occultist here. Take my money for entertaining me during work. Oh, there'll be more to come. Will become decreasingly live as I ridicule Jenpsaki with one-liners. People seem to be interested in it, so I'm going to keep doing it. Strike while the iron's hot. EpicMan004. Does Anshade have COVID lockdowns like the US? No, there's nothing here. Nobody wears a mask, no lockdowns, no restrictions, nobody gives a fuck. I think technically there's a restriction on like buses and stuff that you have to wear a mask, but I don't know. They go by and I've seen people without masks on them, so nobody cares. People need the people of the United States need to be more like the people of like Florida and the Dakotas, as opposed to being like Californians all afraid of COVID. Dick Van Whiskey, hey Alzheimer's, how long have you had Joe Biden disease? Yeah. At some point, it's not even funny because he clearly has it. And I mean, again, as a person who's seen a loved one suffer with dementia, it's not funny on that level. But the fact that millions of people, not 80 million, but some millions of people did vote for a man who's clearly not cognitively all there to be the commander in chief. Who's minding the nuclear football? I guarantee it's not Joe Biden. Gail Nibson. Hey, Sticks, what about a house tour or at least an OnlyFans? Yeah, I can't do that. For security reasons, I wouldn't give a house tour because, you never know when you might get attacked. Barbara Duffy, $5, no comment, thank you. Trying to get to these all. We never know when Psaki will actually come online. By the way, we got 2,400 people watching on 2 platforms. They've got barely over 1,000 on the White House stream, just for context. Andrew Carl, what are your thoughts on amnesty being forced into the reconciliation bill? I've heard it's rather likely. Love the live streams. I haven't heard about that. They are trying to corporatize crypto, though. Fellatio appreciate these daily streams. Thanks, Sticks. Not daily, but like a couple times a week, I'll do something like this. I was going to do one last night, but then I'm like, well, I could go and read Elfin Ship and be warm in bed with the kitty and Liz and stuff, or I could stay up for an extra hour and listen to Joe Biden mumble. Yeah, you know where my priorities are. I'm sorry, I just don't give a shit what Biden has to say. Barbara Duffy, another $5. I don't know if you meant to double that up, but thank you anyway. Stabbin' Joe Scarborough. Love your stuff, Sticks. Take my money too. Gladly. $10 to buy, a 4-pack of Red Bull. Shark dentures. Then what is your stance on family, community, generational, societal traditions? I have no problem with traditions. I just don't support the faux traditionalism of the evangelical side of the Republican Party. They're like Pat Robertson and shit like that. I used to be a fan of Right Wing Watch back when Right Wing Watch was ridiculing them. It's funnily enough because they hire the dude who goes after me, calls me a Nazi. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. By the way, he's working for the Atlantic Council now. He's not working for RWW anymore. He moved up in life, now became a globalistic sellout shill for war. Broken parents, is there hope? Or is the era of the U.S. as a global power over for good? No, the U.S. has just begun. Biden is like a Jimmy Carter or a Woodrow Wilson or a W. We've been through inept leadership before. We're just fine. You'll see, by the way. Everyone was all optimistic when Trump was president. You know, all of the past failures were forgotten. You'll forget Biden, too, before the end is done. Your mother was a hamster, $5. No comment, thank you. By the way, I think the neighbors are fighting or something, but it's all in Dutch, so I don't know what they're talking about. Liz said earlier that one of them said something like, pack your bags, like the woman did. And I'm thinking to myself how funny it would be to like put on a dress and like a skirt and then ring their door while they're fighting and probably drunk. And be like, hey neighbor, you know, if you heard about Jesus Christ, he was not going to save you. So just say something totally off the wall and do weird shit. John Marafa, dark prediction. More Americans will be killed 9/11/2021 than in 2001. I don't think so, because there won't be a lot of Americans, I think, in all of these countries actually on that date. Biden probably learned from the error of his ways several weeks ago and said, I guess kicking the can that far is probably not a great idea. Unfortunately, there was gunfire earlier again at the Kabul airport, so I wouldn't be surprised if there are further attacks. In fact, I'd be surprised if there weren't. You've got several days, a couple more days before the official, total, final, whatever withdrawal, and we've already had several major terrorist attacks. Biden, by the way, doesn't take any responsibility for these. Somebody else's fault. It was the Taliban's fault. Why don't you blame the Pope or something like that? Like, choose someone at random. Slot Botswana, keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Lamented Guide, Yo Stick's gonna do garden vids again sometime. I did a couple, but the thing is the garden here's smaller. Wait till when I'm in Rutland, it's like the amount of work that needs to go into it is significant. I've got some design plans, but it's gonna take some time. Josh Zick, Biden always refers to they, saying they told me I can answer questions. They told me to call on so-and-so. What do you think they is? You rock. His staffers. But the thing is, he doesn't understand why that's a faux pas for the president of the United States to say he's taking marching orders. Grim Metals, loving these streams as I work. If you guys enjoy hand-poured precious and base metal bullion, just Google my name. I like hand-poured silver. That's always a good thing. Always have a little bit of a stack of everything that you can. MT Coiner, found you a few weeks ago. I love your content. Well, thank you very much. I love my subscribers. Bison American Club, Aardappel. Isn't that it doesn't mean potato, I think, in Dutch? I think so. I know aardbei is like a strawberry. Norn Iron John, Clank Clank, Dementia Joe must go. Trump 2024. Yeah, oh, he won't go. Not unless he dies or his 25th. He's not going to resign over the Afghan. He's still convinced that he's a strong man. He's still 20 in his mind. Maxim B, what's your opinion on Jordan Peterson? I have no problem with the dude. I think that it's horseshit that he survives on nothing but red meat, though. I think he'd be dead by now. Didn't he do a bunch of drugs and end up in rehab at some point? I'm not judging the dude because, you know, that happens to a lot of content creators. But, yeah. Dweez Droid Breeze Boys, K Maya, or K Mala. Jason J, if these clowns were serious about COVID, there would be recommendations on HVAC systems to go 100% outside air, but they won't because energy efficiency. Green is preventing serious measures against. Yeah, green and medically sound are definitely two mutually exclusive things. But, you know, you're not allowed to say that because that's, you know, a conspiracy theory. Cynics all, Psaki sucks. Yeah, we're still waiting. She's 9 minutes late already. Fashionably late as usual. Or unfashionably late. Wish it was 1982 again. Wish I could go back in time to the neon light era. Muddy Drip 6665. Have you watched Tick's video on how the Nazi government was more socialist than far right? Very dense and interesting video. I have not, but that's definitely true. They were socialists. Real ones. No, it wasn't just in name only. It was socialism. Heavily centrally planned, lots of redistributionism. Yeah, the Nazis were explicitly socialistic. MC, Florida loves you. We have the best governor. The Texans might disagree, and the Dakotans. But I think Kristi Noem, didn't she cuck out the other day? So probably not them anymore. Is that South or North Dakota? I don't even know. No one. Jenpsaki is the perfect mouthpiece for the Biden administration. Nothing she says is true, and you can't tell she's lying. Her condescension is putrid. Yeah, the condescending nature thing I really get, as well with Kamala Harris and others within the administration, even Buttigieg. By the way, he's taken a backseat role. Buttigieg took a backseat. You haven't heard much about him, have you, recently? Could it be the whole trains and shit thing is no longer of interest to the public, so they decided to shelve a lot of his initiatives? Stephen, it's sad that it takes retired or off-duty SF and other military like Tim Kennedy to go there on their own dime to rescue our people. Yeah, I see there are people that are threatening Biden to go there on their own, to like charter planes and pick up survivors in the Kabul airport. I think that's a bad idea for logistic purposes, partially because my assumption is that all the U.S. citizens will be airlifted out. It's just a matter of when. The problem then becomes this. Joe Biden, if other people take initiative, saves face, and then he'll take all the credit. Well, man, I got all these Afghans and stuff out. I got all these civilians out. No, nobody else helped me. They airlifted tens of thousands of people I would have abandoned, but whatever. Kevin Murphy, any chance truckers shut down in the U.S. like Australia on the 31st? That'd be good, but I can remember when, was it that idiot from Guerrilla News? Can't even remember his name. He threatened to shut down DC with the trucker thing there back in like 2012. And there were like 3 or 4 truckers that delayed traffic briefly. He was in league with Glenn Beck. You probably know who I'm talking about. He was in league with Glenn Beck, who had the Black Robe Moron Regiment there, and he was rambling on Fox or wherever about how they were going to martyr themselves. Just another example of why I'm not a member of the GOP, by the way. Cheeto Dictator. Hey, Sticks, did you hear Pelosi's hot mic from a few months ago when Biden was speaking, asking Nancy if she would take questions during a press conference? She clearly says, no, we don't want him to talk. I'm not surprised. That could be taken multiple ways. I'm sure Biden's fans would just be like, oh, well, just for time constraints. Joe Wojnowski. Sticks, I may have missed when you discussed it in the past, but how do you square your views on abortion with the NAP, unless you don't consider the preborn to be an individual? Thanks for your content. I believe it has to do with medical decision-making, and the government shouldn't be involved with it. Simple as that. As far as the debate over whether a 2-week-old fetus qualifies as human life or as a person under the Constitution, that's an entirely separate debate from the medical side of things. I just don't think the government should be able to tell a woman, hey, you're 1 week too pregnant. Yeah, you have to have this baby. You don't have a choice. Oh, you were raped? Well, really too sad. Norn Iron John. Jordan was an anti-anxiety medication. The side effect he experienced was from trying to wean himself off of them. Oh, okay, well, that explains that. I thought he was doing barbiturates of some sort. He's still full of shit when he claims that he has a meat-only diet, and so is his daughter, by the way. They eat more than just that. That's horse shit. Seungsation. Taliban are making a list and checking it twice. Gonna find out who's naughty and nice. Yeah, and they're gonna kill the nice ones. Probably thousands of them. Jeff Hatcher. Everyone stop by the White House's tube and give a preemptive thumbs down. Really enjoy your work, Sticks. Yeah, by the way, you may have noticed I have not yet thumbed down the White House feed here. That's because the speaking has not yet begun. I choose to listen before I judge. I mean, I know how I'm likely to judge it, but yeah. The Tornado, up next. President Biden gives convicted child sex offenders list of orphans, asking them that they don't kidnap these underprivileged kids no one else will look for. Yeah, that's about, it seems, the case. By the way, right now there are 1,200 people waiting to watch Jenpsaki ramble. There are over 3,000 people here. Just usual, par for the course. Most popular president ever. Mega Gamer 1988. These attacks on the Kabul airport are going to decimate the Democrats in the midterms. This debacle far exceeds what happened in Saigon back in the 70s. Yes, it does, but the legacy media back then still did journalism. So don't underestimate their capability to keep lemming America, aka a bunch of soccer moms, ignorant about what happened. And they will try. Norn Iron John, for all the Glenn Beck's faults, he's doing amazing work getting Americans and the Afghan Christians. Well, I don't know anything about that. I'd be surprised if anyone actually was airlifted out because Glenn Beck said so. His heyday on Fox was 3 years of him sitting there by his chalkboard blaming everything on George Soros as a distraction from a bunch of other billionaires and other elites that have just as much culpability. With him, there was one person he cared about, to the exclusion of all others. Oh, Bill Gates just bought up 1 million acres of farmland? That's perfectly normal. George Soros is trying to get you to smoke weed. Rhythmic Riot. What do you think of the subpoenas? Do you think Alex Jones will yell at Pelosi that she turned the frogs gay? I don't know anything about that. I'd love to see Alex Jones give congressional testimony, though, especially if he stays in character. He explicitly stated in his legal brief, hey, look, that's a character I play. I'm hyperbolic. Yeah, I believe in what I'm saying, but I say it in a different way when I'm on the camera. He explicitly stated that. That's why he's not in jail right now. And the Dems won't leave him alone. They want to heap insult onto injury after having already prevented him from speaking on mainline tech. Magnus Wooten, don't forget non-11-1 sick. I don't even know what you're saying there, dude. I'm sorry. Oh, 9/11 sick. Yeah, I don't get what the last part refers to. I'm assuming you're getting around a filter or something, so I might not even be able to actually say it. Pinochet's Commicopter. Thoughts on the Capitol Police officer who killed Ashley Babbitt coming out saying, I know that day I saved countless lives. Well, he's full of shit. And the left finally found a cop that shot an unarmed individual, a woman, by the way, who they support. And despite Trump fans supposedly being so violent and bloodthirsty, not a single riot. Adherent of Lady Columbia, why do so many people have an obsession or view that the U.S. will fall? I may not be that old, but history has shown these predictions are atrocious. Yeah, but they're black-pilled. Largely by Chinese propaganda. They're hoping to win the war without firing a shot because they know if a shot happens, they lose. And so they try to demoralize people. So there are a lot of people out there that are well-meaning, otherwise have their heads screwed on right, but they're simply propagandized too. And then there are a handful of people that are shills. Dr. Nigsop McChortle, I can't even read your full name out. OMFG, when Biden said, we will hunt you down, it sent chills down my spine. Nobody ever. Yeah, he's not going to hunt anything. He wouldn't know how. He doesn't even know how to fire a fucking gun. Nobody's taken in by his bravado. It's like one of the benefits of Trump was his bravado. People believed it. It was sort of like Nixon pretending to be nuts. Retro Veteran Gamer, Haystix watching on twice, but jumped over to buy you a coffee. That'll buy several coffees. Cappuccino. Norn Iron John. Glenn has raised $30 million in a few days and is there, airlifting people out, hundreds so far. Oh, Glenn Beck is actually in Kabul right now? I mean, if he doesn't get on a plane at some point, they'll leave him behind on purpose. Oh, they'd love that. Far-right extremist gets captured by Taliban for grandstanding about his conspiracy theories. You know that he wouldn't get any sympathy from the leftoids. Slam her clam. If working conditions at Blizzard Entertainment were so openly unbearable, why did the workers not stage their walkout prior to the news breaking to raise awareness instead of waiting like they did? I don't know. Is that an Amazon reference, by the way? I think Amazon workers are doing that shit now. Yeah, Shoe on Head was big on that. Jumping down the quartering's throat. Then I weighed in, and of course, I got jumped for it. I'm the bad guy for pointing out hypocrisy. Like, hey, you made probably millions at this point on, or at least many hundreds of thousands off capitalism, but you claim to be a leftoid. Well, you're not walking the walk, dude. You're not moving to Venezuela. Google account. Do you still think Trump isn't a big pharma salesman? As a U.S. Marine infantry vet, watching Afghan fall is a foregone conclusion, but a heartbreaking failure nonetheless. 9/11 3.0. Yeah, it's terrible because it could have been avoided. No, Trump is not a pharma salesman. Trump fast-tracked the vaccine and told people, hey, you can get vaccinated if you want, and he left it at that. And for this, he gets shit from people who don't want to take the vaccine. Well, I'm not taking it, but that doesn't mean that I say to Trump, oh, you're responsible for the COVID passport mess. He never tried to force anyone to do anything. He's come out repeatedly and said it's your choice. Bev Miller, buy Elizabeth a nice plant for the garden. There's not much more room at the moment. I still haven't expanded it, but I thank you for that donation. I am the plant carer. Sheena Ray, eyewitnesses at the Kabul airport have said there's no way Biden had evacuated 87,000 people. Exaggeration, aka lies. Yeah, I question the official totals. How do they even come up with these totals? They tally them as they go into the planes? They don't know how many fucking people are out. But the thing is, with all the journalists gone, if the Afghans that are left behind get slaughtered, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to report on it. That's what they're hoping. They're hoping for a news blackout. Steve Aoki is Chinese spy. I'm driving through the middle of nowhere, Montana right now. I love listening to you while I drive. And just make sure to pay attention to the road, even if there's nobody else for like 10 miles, which is likely if you're in Montana. Isn't Ben Garrison in Montana now? You should go say hi to him. Might be saying hi to his gun, though, so that's probably not a good idea. Disclaimer, that's actually a joke. I think he moved in, or Idaho or something. I know he got banned off Twitter a while ago, but then I think they restored his account, or he has a fan-run second account because you're not allowed to ban jump, even if the bans are horse shit. Danger Aaron, Wisconsin resident here, left my job because of vaccine mandates. Tell us briefly, was I right or wrong to do this? You stood on principle. You have to determine whether it's right or wrong. I happen to support the right of workers to opt out of such things, because the employer shouldn't be mandating jack shit unless it has to do with the job. Most jobs, I mean, if you're working in medicine, okay, vaccines can be mandated. You're in the medical field. Outside of that, education, restaurant work and stuff, nobody tells you to get a flu vaccine. Nobody tells you, hey, if you're not vaccinated against rabies, you're not allowed to work here unless you're a veterinarian. So that makes sense. I oppose vaccine mandates, to be clear, of all kinds. I realize that there are some that are extremely helpful. Look, the measles vaccine saves a lot of lives. People getting vaccinated, again, rabies or something, you're a veterinarian, it's probably a good idea, preemptively. Getting a tetanus shot, something like that. No, though, I don't think that the government should be able to keep you from having a hamburger because you're not vaccinated or something. Epic Man 004, come on, Jan. It shouldn't take this long to have a Percocet before a press conference. I think she's on more than a few perks. I remember back in the day, I got handed a half a bottle full of fucking Percocet when they had my wisdom teeth out, actually. I took one of them, puked, and said, fuck this, and took the ibuprofen instead. Should have sold the goddamn Percocets. Disclaimer, that's totally a joke. I actually didn't, so I flushed them down the fucking toilet. The fish in that local lake must have been high that day. Mountain Corner, also watching from Montana. What's up, Montanans? Got 2 people from Montana. That's like half the population of your state. I'm just joking. Boston Joe, gun and military vehicle manufacturers are rejoicing that the U.S. left all that equipment behind. Now it has to be replaced. Oh, yeah. Thousands of Humvees and stuff like that. I just wish I could have gotten some of that shit. You know, can I get free rifle armor and like a non-automatic weapon of some sort? That would be enough for me. I'm easy to please. Just a couple of ammo canisters. Come on. I mean, they look aesthetic. Put them in the basement. Have a little corner. It looks like a bunker. Have a ham radio and stuff. Some MREs. Can I like decorate with one of them? Make it Nashy. Do you think a 20th anniversary attack on 9/11 is likely now, since so many potential terrorists have may have gotten sent here in those planes from Kabul? No. That's a little bit of a different story from what's going on at the moment in Afghanistan. But I think terrorist attacks, potentially major ones over the next few days, are likely. And by the way, the State Department's not missing words. They're telling you it's likely too. They're not even denying it. When the government comes out and says, yeah, we expect more attacks on the airport, that's kind of ominous now, isn't it? Mr. X 1776, I recommend a Ruger SP101. You mentioned the other day getting something new. Yeah, I had a poll out. I've got a bunch of guns that I'd like to buy when I'm back in the United States. These guns are kind of cool. And I'd like to get a rifle chamber 22, just because, you know, something for garden defense. I'd like to get something in 45, because that's always cool. You know, 1911 pistol's kind of iconic. The 5.7, the Banshee chambered 5.7 actually is about the best thing I can think of that I would want. And I'd get, of course, the pistol version, because, you know, they have folding braces that are kind of, sort of, possibly illegal now, according to Biden, but that's embattled in the courts, so it's not entirely clear. I think there was a, what was it? I think they blocked it at the lower courts, and now they're taking it up. Who knows? JSauce Keck, take your shirt off, but leave your jacket on like the good old days. We the people demand, sticks hex in chest 666. Well, yeah, but, you know, I'm not as in shape after eating all the bitter ballin', so you'll have to wait a little bit longer for that. It's a work in progress, chiseling myself into the Ubermensch, as all of my detractors probably think that I'm obsessed with doing. Matthew Lindsay, ever moving back to the U.S.? I'll be back in the U.S. I'm an American. Senor, why me? Here from Sacramento, vote Larry Elder. Yes, absolutely. If you are in California and you are not registered to vote, you must register to vote in the next couple of days. Vote yes on recalling Gavin Newsom. Doesn't matter who you vote for to replace him. Fuck it, who cares? It'll probably be Larry Elder or, you know, Jenner there. I think Jenner's 10, 15 points behind, so I wouldn't worry too much. But Newsom needs to go to serve an example with regards to fascism. I watches The Watchmen. Did the deep state intentionally mess up Afghan withdrawal to sour demand and other wars? No, if anything, it's actually increased anti-war rhetoric because people see how dumb it is. People see how fucking stupid it is. By the way, someone up there saying Glock family. Yes, a Glock gang. Yes, I have a Glock 17, and it's amazing. And a Glock 42, I think. The 380 version. Very, very light weapon. Jesus, I mean, the accuracy is incredible. Maxim B, your commie book was amazing. Pissed off my commie girlfriend who says it's all the CIA's fault that communism in Russia didn't work. Lol. Make sure to leave your communist girlfriend. You should never date crazy. Find someone better. I'm not joking about that. You'll regret it if you don't. C. Farina, hey Sticks, why is it so difficult for people to break their cognitive dissonance? E.g. Psaki, she said she's a communist and nobody remembers. Thanks, we love you in New Jersey. Everyone has cognitive dissonance, including people on the right. It's not limited to a leftoid sort of thing. So I have cognitive dissonance. It's difficult for me to see past the faults of my fellow libertarians, but sometimes I have to force myself to do so because I'm more interested in truth and analysis than I am party lines or ideological lines and stuff. Yeah, but no, it's not a good idea to have a communist girlfriend. Maybe it's good when we interior decorating. I'm sure that's wonderful, but I hate to tell you, dude, that's not a good. I hope you're joking. I hope you're being hyperbolic when you say she's a commie. So I'm just going to assume she's just a Democrat, okay? That's fine. It doesn't matter. Cody, fascism, Freudian slip, lol. Yeah, I use the term fascism all the time. COVID fascism, a la Fauci. It just sort of works. Leor Engelstein, if you like your 17, I manufacture an AR that takes Glock mags. That sounds pretty great. I almost got an AR variant rifle when I was back in Rutland before, but then I said, well, I like revolvers best of all. And I'm more into pistols than rifles anyway. Jenpsaki is, how late is she now? She's 30 minutes late already. Anyway, I'm going to use the bathroom really quick. I'll be right back. Jenpsaki will probably come live while I'm taking a piss or something like that. But give me like 2 or 3 minutes. I'll do the best that I can. And don't worry, I can always pause and rewind. So don't worry, you'll hear all of her most frenetic, bizarre statements, of which there will be many. And keep in mind, there are about 3 times as many people watching live here on YouTube and Twitch as there are watching the official White House stream. Most popular president ever, but I'll be right back. Gotta take a Danny filth. Ah, she's still not live. Why am I not surprised? Yeah, wonderful. I should have started 30 minutes late like the White House always does. By the way, I actually do disavow when people say like Talibros or something like that. Like the Taliban's no joke. They will kill random innocents. You don't be taken in by their memes. A lot of it's Chinese propaganda anyway. But it is funny when they're trolling Biden. Inquisitor Jack, I quit looking for a wife after MD Maryland passed red flag 4 years ago. Wasn't worth risking the SWAT raid. Ruger GP100 has some excellent options, by the way. Yeah, you got to get to a swing state. Get to New Hampshire. Free State Project, fully supported. Forgiven one, the military-industrial complex is cancer. Yeah, I agree. By the way, cancer is a huge insult in Dutch, the term kanker. And there are all sorts of derivations of that. For some reason, Dutch insults and swears often have a medical component. So like past like plague, canker or cancer and things like that are considered hideous insults for some reason. I mean, calling someone a cunt is less offensive than saying like, was it a cancer whore and things like that. C2K. Biden has handed a list of all U.S. citizens and contractors to the tally. He's literally handed them an end list to those who helped U.S. Pretty much done. Yeah, apparently there was a list given to the Taliban that had U.S. citizens and Afghan personnel on it. And the idea was, well, the Taliban's got the checkpoints, so we need to know that our people can get through. The problem is, what I think probably ends up happening is ISIS ends up getting that list. So great, wonderful. That's not a security problem at all. Too many accounts. If your state allows silencers, you can get an integral bolt or lever action rifle in 45 or 22 that the loudest sound is the bullet hitting the target. Yeah, suppressors are legal, I think, in every state almost now. California and a few others probably still ban them. They removed the suppressor ban in Vermont. It's a good idea. I mean, you know, you want to be able to still hear what's going on when you're 40 years old. So having a suppressor makes sense. I would get one if I had a 5.7, a Banshee. I would definitely put a suppressor on it. Mega Gamer 1988. Oh, by the way, news on the supposed January incident. The Democrats are demanding the private documents and lists on Trump and his supporters. Yeah, well, let them keep demanding in vain. Fuck them. They're going to do whatever they can to get away with their legislative position because Pelosi happens to be Queen Bee, and yeah, it was expected. Epic Man 004. Sticks, remember when you streamed from your bathroom a year and a half ago? Why was that? Lol. Also, bring back the spoon clanking in your videos. If I remember correctly, it's because there was too much noise and I had nowhere else to stream. And so I was using my phone actually at the time. I do remember that. I think that was noise related actually though. Mateo C, can you and Liz do reactions to Trump rallies? I do want to do some reactions to that, but Liz has less interest in politics, and bring it up to her though. Cody Young, you could always check out a Taurus Judge 45 Colt 410 GA. Yeah, there's like a million guns to choose from. I do know that I want a Banshee pistol, however, that's a given. And a 1911 chambered 45, I do want that. And then some good 22 rifle. Like to get a shotgun at some point. I've got several guns, but I'm mainly a revolver person. I want a 357 revolver at some point. And not one of those ridiculous ones. Yeah, no, higher accuracy, more muzzle velocity. Okay, when the barrel of a revolver is 2 feet long, at some point, come on, dude. It's just ridiculous. I'm going to carry that around when I go out into the woods. For self-defense, but I'd rather get a snub nose. Courier Afra, I finally caught you live. Here's some shekels, Sticks. Buy a nice cup of tea. And buy a whole box of black tea with $5. Tea is cheap, actually, here. They give it out for free at businesses and stuff. You're like in a waiting room or something. People will offer you tea, coffee, hot chocolate, hot water for tea. It's great. Still waiting for Jenpsaki. She's now 36 minutes late. Istari. Sticks Hexenhammer missed my $10 super chat. Minor correction. Love your videos. Trump can have a VP from the same state. I thought that you couldn't, actually. Wasn't sure of that. Yeah, I'm just going to sit here and read super chats. And Jenpsaki is, you know, she's too busy preening or, you know, sucking dick or something like that right now. Give her a little bit of sympathy, though. She has to do that to Joe Biden. All of his lumpy, near 80-year-old sperm firing down her gullet. You know that happens. Come on. Kurt Staubitzer. Sadly, Sticks, here in Canada, our Women and Gender Equality Minister. Yes, for some reason that's a thing. Mariam Monsef said that the Taliban are our brothers. So the meme is real and Canada is a joke. Yeah, I saw that too. Really sad. How the mighty have fallen. You were once one of the gems in the crown of the British Empire, and now Trudeau is your leader. I think you should have stuck with the Royals. Thumb Bugley. Ruger 1022 is a wonderful 22 long rifle with tons of options. The Ruger Charger is a pistol of the same 1022 receiver. Ruger PC Carbine, same in 9mm. Now, I've got a 9mm, Glock 17. The design of Glock handguns is just aesthetic as well. Like, I know the reliability is really the biggest selling factor because you can literally drop them in a puddle and use them a week later. No muss, no fuss, less maintenance. That being said, I just like the way they look. But I'd like to have a little collection. I mean, I'm not going to have a whole rack of guns on my wall or anything like that because you can only use one or two at a time. But I would like to have more than I have, and I will. The guns are more affordable than the ammo at this point. Fucking look on the ammo prices. Go to like Bulk Ammo or some of the online shops. Jesus. Game's over, Saeed. Nice Cradle of Filth bathroom break reference. Yeah, that's actually an Andy Six Log of Shit reference. Danny Filth is his arch nemesis. But while Andy Filth's logs of shit are creamy, steamy, and delectable, Danny Filth's piss is revolting and sour and acidic. And the only reason that people drink Danny Filth's piss is to reject logs, to reject Andy Six, who is our Lord and Savior. By the way, look up Animator Man, Animator with 2 R's, if you want to know what I'm talking about. It's a little bit of a meme. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer. Sticks, what are your thoughts on H&K guns? I don't know. They're guns, aren't they? I don't have any further thoughts. I'm a Glock. It is a Glock family that I am part of. And revolvers. So, Colt and shit. Xander Klein. Just came back from the Tim Pool video that dropped. Glad I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I mean, I've spent the last 50 minutes just reading super chats. I don't know where Jenpsaki is at this point. I'm thinking, it says started streaming 47 minutes ago. Well, okay. At this point, I'm allowed to give it a downvote. Okay, the official downvote just because you're so fucking late. I guess they're getting an update, probably, oh, you're the Kabul airport, another attack, or something like that. By the way, if there's any breaking news with regards to the Kabul airport, please do drop it in chat. Inquisitor Jack, Ruger Super Red Hawk has 8-shot, 357 options, and 10mm Banshee can be used to hunt, sufficient to defend against bears as well. I prefer 5.7 because it's high velocity, it's made for penetration, and so it's more up to modern standards. 10mm is fine though, you know. Robert Manley, you must attend a Trump rally, historical event. Yeah, I mean, I would think of doing that, but I mean, first I'm in the Netherlands. That's the first problem. Secondly, if I'm in the U.S., I'm in Vermont. So unless he has a rally in Boston or maybe Albany or something, and I can't imagine him bothering to waste his time with that because it's solid blue. I mean, I'm not going to drive 3-4 hours out of my way just to go to a political rally. Yes, even for Donald Trump. So many chats, so little time. Jesus. Abraham Lincoln, Jen better not be a truant. Kama will put her in jail. Well, she's already truant. Maybe it'll be like the other day when I tried to do a live stream, and then their live streams were competing with each other. Number one, we're hours late. Number two, everything was fucked up. This is the White House on Joe Biden. He's probably he's sitting there muttering to himself, pacing back and forth. Ooh, should we start now or should we punt it a little bit? There might be more news from Kabul. You might have to figure that in, Jen. Yeah, quick, suck my dick again, bitch. GOFPV, I'd suggest a shotgun if you already have a handgun. Birdshot for small game hunting, buckshot for hunting and defense, and slugs for FAFO. Yeah, I'd like to get a shotgun. I'd get Dragon's Breath rounds. Start a fire with that shit. Stormcrow 900 for 357. I can recommend Uberti's single action army clones if you don't mind old cowboy guns. Can also recommend Ruger 1022 for 22 long rifle. Yeah, I like getting gun recommendations. I've got a few though that I am set on. I want a 1911 style in the original 45 ACP because that's iconic. I want a 5.7 Banshee because of Demolition Ranch mainly. And I want some, reasonable rifle in 22, just because, I mean, the ammo is more common. It's more cheap and stuff. There's a reason why the 50 cals don't sell well right now. It's like, okay, I took a shot. I just, paid my entire salary. Deb Bana, $5, no comment. I watch as the Watchmen. I like Glocks too, despite them being blocky. They're not blocky. They just look modern and aesthetic. They look like the kind of guns that, in the post-90s era people use, as opposed to like a police revolver, so like Nick Valentine or some shit like that. Temp viewer 12345. U.S. left the bait for the Taliban. Possible 4D chess. U.S. leaves. All the military vehicles go boom synchronously by satellite-controlled explosives. I think that would be a little bit beyond Biden's pay grade. If Trump were president, you might consider it to be 4D chess. Biden can't even play checkers. Clitoric. Jen is probably log posting right now. Yeah, she needs to stuff a steamer before the show. Get clogged. Nix America. Have you ever thought of doing something with Razor Fist? You guys are my 2 favorite YouTube commentators. Thanks. Yeah, a lot of people think we're the same person. Actually, we're not. Already in the 2018 midterms, I had several people aboard, and one of them was Razor Fist. You can look back on it. I had Venti, I had Kaufman, I think I had Vahi as well, and then also I think I had, I can't remember exactly who else. So I had 6 different people that were on board there for 15-minute slots. I remember though, I did have Kaufman, I did have Vahi, I had Venti, Brittany Venti, And Razor Fist was on there. I think he was the main guest because I thought the novelty was funny. The American, $5. Thank you. Oh, yeah, Mark Collette was on there. That's another one. I can't remember who the 6th guest was. Sorry to whoever that was. If you're watching here, I don't mean to insult you. Callum Stewart. Hey, Sticks, watching from Scotland, where the only way I can distract myself from the authoritarianism is to watch you constantly. Mock these clowns. Yeah, I will once, she's there. Oh, yes, Chris Whalen, CPA, I believe, was the 6th guest. He came on mainly to talk about economic issues. He's the tax expert on the channel. I have him aboard, I think, 4 times. He did come aboard as well at some point. Good dude. By the way, his tax prep must be accurate because he ran a projection for me. It was almost completely on the mark. So Chris Whalen, CPA, make sure to hit him up if you have tax questions, which, in the Biden administration, that's going to be a lot of you if you're U.S. citizens. Tony Mathis, Browning High Power 9mm was the sweetest gun I ever owned. Got stolen out of my vehicle by a security guard. I told it was in that. I later found out it was a gun collector. That's interesting. Should sue him. Jim Varney, thank you for keeping me awake on my way to work every morning. Oh, I never sleep. I've got caffeine. I drained this earlier. I've got my millennial autism juice. So now I've just got this. It's to prevent scurvy. It's got lime in it. Got to preserve my voice. Apparently, I'll be talking for like 5 hours before Jenpsaki bothers to show up. Let me go back really quickly before I get to any more. Because they could always... Okay. Yeah, it's still the same link. We will begin shortly. Who knows when? Art Circle, Rorschach was the only hero. William Crooks, here is 10.2 Canadian dollars for some Red Bull. Trudeau called an election. Let's hope he gets the boot. Unfortunately, I think, isn't he expected to establish a majority government and be able to govern again? Like not just through executive action? Your system's weird. Tina Bobina, 9mm Glock, Mother's Day edition, gift from Sons. Google it, it's beautiful. Codex Trigger Guard, a must. Yeah, mine's not customized at all. I got it at the gun shop, regular sites and everything, but yeah, it's accurate. It doesn't jam or anything like that. It works just fine. I don't need a lot of a fancy shit on the gun since, typically you're engaging a person at 20 feet or less. So I figure unless you can't hit the broadside of a barn, I should be okay. Arthur Renee, do you think secession will ever happen? If so, which states do you think would leave the Union? No, it won't. There won't be any peaceful divorce. There won't be any bad divorce or anything of the states. The United States stands or falls together. That's the fact. Secessionary rhetoric is often propaganda or black-pilled. Money Drip 6665. When are you going to be on Timcast IRL? Well, when I'm back in the U.S., because he's in the U.S. and he doesn't have remote call-ins for his studio, so I have to wait till that. B. Newman. Biden is literally about to have his Katrina moment. The hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico is rapidly intensifying and has wind speeds already reaching Cat 4 levels, and it's days away from landfall. Yeah, imagine that the Biden administration gets rocked by a domestic problem as well as a foreign problem at the same time. It could happen. Nobody expected Katrina to be as bad as it was. Bush had basically carpet-bagged one of his friends in as head of FEMA. By the way, when you see those FEMA camps, people demanded that they be built literally after Katrina in 2006. That could happen. That'd sink his presidency even faster because a lot of Americans don't give a shit what happens in Afghanistan. They'll go, oh, as long as the troops come home. A few troops died, well, they die anyway. This is basically the amazing atheist opinion on the subject. Afghans, who cares? But then a bunch of people die in a hurricane in the U.S., although at this point, they'd be more likely to blame the state governor of Louisiana. Oh, it weren't Joe's fault. Yeah, FEMA was supposed to get involved. Yeah, we crucified Bodubia for the same thing, but, it's different. It's the current year. Lamented Guide, Yostix, thought about doing video game streams. I have thought about it. I'd have to figure out how to do it first, though. GG Evan 317. 17 HMR Marlin rifle if you want similar velocity and accuracy of bigger calibers, but smaller than a 22. Now, I like 22. Another thing I've thought about getting is a 22 Magnum. Gives it a little bit more oomph, you know? And it's kind of unique. It's like, you know, basically their desire to upgrade the 22 long rifles was still relevant in modern terms. They still make a lot of it, so I don't know. By the way, I should probably tell my wife, Jenpsaki still hasn't shown up. You know? She's now an hour late. So maybe she has an hour late. Maybe she's got as much problem with time zones as me, which shows you how dysfunctional, by the way, everyone, the White House is, if their time zones are as screwed up as mine. A vodka nerd, Glock fan myself, but I prefer the M&P Shield. Plus, after shooting a bunch of small 9mm, I like the Glock 17. It's a Gen 5 specifically, so that might have something to do with it. Plus, it came with several extra mags. I mean, it was a steal for the cost I got it for. Cragen's Gun Shop, by the way, the one ridiculed by that goofy dude, what's his name? Something Weinstein, actually, on Twitter, and then he deleted his tweet. That's where I got that. Also got my Glock 42 from them, and several revolvers. Tricycle Raptor, hey Sticks, pitching in some cash since I made it to a stream. Graduating from uni this December, held my own against the lefties, and actually got a useful degree in engineering. Keep up the good work. Yeah, well, you'll be making a lot more than them. Maybe you'll employ a couple of them in the future when you're working on an oil rig at 80K to start or something. So congratulations, my dude. Discuss macabre. Was Joe being disposable the plan from day one? Has anyone told Joe? I think he knows that. I think, by the way, some part of him resents that. I think that he knows that he's expendable, which is why they force-fucked Kamala down his throat. Art Circle. All anyone needs is a broken lamp, a robe, and a stick and a bathtub to be happy. Is that referring to suicide or sex dolls? Could be taken either way. Holy Wars. Sticks, what happened to Australia? Do you think the protests will cause the government to wilt, or will the authoritarians dig their heels in? Oh, the authoritarians will definitely dig their heels in, but I think they've already partially backed off, haven't they? They're now saying, well, we can't achieve COVID-0. We're going to have to normalize it, something like that. Jacob Tola, plot twist. Jenpsaki is watching the stream and waiting for you to get bored and leave, sparing her a thorough clanking. She could use one. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, there aren't even 1,400 people waiting for her to begin her belated stream. And people will probably start filtering out at some point. It's almost 5,000 fucking people watching this one between two sites. Got almost 200 people on Twitch, and I just started it a few days ago. So, you know, that alone is impressive compared to the White House's capabilities. How many? And they've supposedly got like almost 2 million subscribers. Horseshit. None of these people are active. It's all bots. It's just like Xinhua News. Northern Iron John, they banned semi-auto rifles and anything greater than 10,000 joules here in Canada. They won't be getting my rifles. You should probably delete that then. And then that's legit advice. Yeah, you lost your guns in a boating accident or something like that. They're totally not sealed with that vacuum pack stuff that the military uses now and then buried under your shed or something like that. I'm really serious. Don't fuck with them. Don't tell people what you're hiding. Oh, here we go. An hour in, Jenpsaki is finally going live. Yeah, baby. Yeah, I got to turn it down on my own. So yeah, don't send any more super chats because Jenpsaki will be live here. Martha, my dear, come back to Texas. You and Liz are welcome on my little acre anytime. Yeah, Texas is great. I like tacos. Raquel AN, I'd like to thank your wife for making you wear a shirt. You look a lot better. I'm going to take it off on purpose now. James Margoni, I'm hearing the best pistol on the market right now is the FN 509. I'm planning on getting one if I can figure out how to legally get one in California. I'll buy it in another state, and then, I don't know, you do some registry shit probably. Chris Farmer, Sticks, do you listen to any death metal bands? All of them. I went past death metal, though. I went straight into grindcore. All right, so that's enough of the super chats because we got to pay attention to the bitch and ridicule her. I hope this is one of her shorter streams where it's about 15 minutes instead of like an hour. Because I'll have to cut it short. If it's like an hour or something like that, I'm not even going to fucking wait. She's not going to answer any of these people's questions fairly anyway. She's live. Well, supposedly the live stream is live. She's busy injecting herself with fentanyl behind the curtain right now, maybe. Made in China. Jake Aaron, Cardano, broski. Yeah, I got a bunch of Cardano. If I sell it at a good enough profit, I guess I can buy several more guns. Professional specialist. You know, education is screwed when my humanities teacher at BYU, Idaho of all places, appeals to that wasn't real communism hogwash. That's common in colleges. That doesn't require Beijing Biden, people like that. Yeah, look at their ratio. 1,700 people watching, 1.6 thousand downvotes. Here she is, the
I have
goofy.
a couple of items for all of you at the top.
Oh my God.
COVID-19 response. We just got today's vaccine report, which Jeff Science, our COVID coordinator, touched on during his briefing this morning. But for the rest of you who weren't a part of that, the report is nearly 1.1 million shots in arms. 1.1 million is the highest single day total shots.
1.1 million shots in arms. How many shots in dead Afghanis this afternoon?
Since July 3rd, which is a good sign. So far in August, we have gotten 12.5 million first shots into arms. That's already 2 million more first shots than in all of July, with several days still left to go to add to that total. Importantly, we've now hit a major milestone in our effort to vaccinate adolescents at a particularly important time as people go back to school. 50% of 12 to 17-year-olds now have at least their first shot. Obviously more work to do, but a positive step forward. Also wanted to note that today the Department of Health and Human Services Secretary.
You notice how she leads off with the COVID stuff. That's because everyone really wants to hear about Afghanistan. She's hoping they will literally tune out before she gets to that part. When you do speaking, they tell you the first few things you say and the last few things you say are what people remember. So just remember that.
Javier Becerra announced $85 million in funding to improve mental health services for our nation's children and youth, which is, of course, a priority for the Biden-Harris administration as a part of our push to get kids back to school safely.
Mental health is a big concern to them because of Biden's mental health.
And address the impact of the pandemic on them. Specifically, he announced the Health Resources and Services Administration is making 24 awards, totaling $10.7 million in funds from the President's American Rescue Plan to expand pediatric mental health care access by integrating telehealth services.
Now, let me ask everyone out there this, and it's a rhetorical question. Does anybody give a fucking goddamn shit about this at this particular moment? I mean, the answer is no, obviously. That's why she's rambling on. She's going to keep doing this for several minutes.
For example, actions like technical assistance for pediatric care providers to diagnose, treat, and refer children and youth with mental health conditions and substance use disorders. And this will also, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration is also.
Jenpsaki definitely avoids mentioning that the president was one of the architects of the 94 Tough on Crime bill that took people with substance abuse issues and put them in federal prison for extended sentences. And that the VP also was involved with that in the state of California. Just to be aware of the context here with Jenpsaki covering these people's asses.
Also granting 29 awards, totaling $74.1 million to enhance mental health services for school-aged youth. So as an example of that, Project AWARE, which stands for Advancing Wellness and Resilience in Education, will use its funding to help raise awareness of mental health issues for young people and train school personnel. Also wanted to note that today we're announcing that President Biden has directed the Department of Homeland Security to serve as the lead federal agency coordinating across the federal government to relocate evacuated Afghans to the United States. Already, DHS has been working closely with agencies across government, including our military, diplomats, intelligence community, and law enforcement professionals. And
I see people in chat playing the Would You Tap Jenpsaki game, aka the game of Would You Like to Have Genital Herpes?
Many others to ensure that all Afghans are screened and vetted prior to being allowed into the United States. Additionally,
now again, Psaki doesn't mention if they're vetting them off-site in a nation like Qatar, technically speaking, they cannot be refugees because these nations have shown a willingness to accept these people as residents or at least in some sort of status. That's a safe third country sort of breach now, Jen. Nobody's going to ask her about that. These people have journalism degrees. They're not intelligent enough to understand diplomacy.
All evacuees will continue to undergo extensive COVID-19 and public health precautions, including immediate COVID-19 testing and offered vaccines upon arrival. DHS will also coordinate with numerous other federal agencies to ensure that relocated
God, there's so many thirsty
medical
people
care
in
and
chat.
sufficient support to enable
Jesus.
their successful
You need to buy a blow-up doll if your standards are that low. Jesus.
resettlement in the United States. The president is grateful for the critical role the dedicated workforces across the federal government, including our military servicemen and women, diplomats, our intelligence and law enforcement professionals, and many others are in implementing this effort. Finally, this afternoon, the president and FEMA administrator Deanne Criswell will host a call with the governors of Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi to discuss ongoing preparations for Tropical Storm Ida, which is expected to make landfall on the Gulf Coast as a major hurricane on Sunday. As some of you may know, Sunday is the 16th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, which caused widespread devastation, claimed more than 8.
Oh boy, wouldn't it be interesting if on the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, another hurricane slams the same area, causing the same damage and the same political outcome? Boy, wouldn't that be mimetic. I don't hope that happens, because that'd cause mass casualties and loss of property, but oh boy, wouldn't that be a goddamn coincidence. There's so many occultists would be born that day.
1,800 lives and displaced so many families. The FEMA administrator was in Louisiana yesterday. She met with Governor Bell Edwards and the State Emergency Management Director to discuss how they are mobilizing to prepare for what could be a very dangerous storm hitting a region that has been heavily impacted by
She almost accidentally said a very dangerous whore.
The Delta variant, and the president will be closely tracking this and receive updates through the course of the weekend. Amr, with that, we'll kick one to you.
Okay, now we're going to get some softball questions. And if we're lucky, we'll get like one or two hardballs in that she'll circle back around. So we'll pay attention to this.
You put out a statement not too long before we came out here that had some pretty sober language in it about the latest briefing the president has gotten from his national security advisors, namely that an attack is likely. I know you're limited, but is there any more specificity you can offer on what that threat is? And secondly, what does it mean for the evacuation? Does the intel in any way also, and changes that need to be made, limit or restrict the ability to continue or get as much done with the mission through August 31st?
Sure.
So basically, we're fucked. But how are we fucked? To what degree? And is it going to fuck other things in the process? And now watch how she answers. It's predictable.
Well, I think many of you may have seen the statement I put out this morning, but just to highlight the reference I believe Amr was making, what I would conveyed in the statement was that the national security team the president met with this morning advised the president and vice president that another terror attack in Kabul is likely. And they are taking maximum force protection measures at the Kabul airport and its surrounding areas with our forces as a result. I will note that the Department of Defense also just gave a briefing this morning, and I will echo some of the descriptions that they offered. The threat is ongoing and it is active. It is our troops are still in danger. That continues to be the case every day that they are there. This is the most dangerous part of the mission. This is the retrograde period of the mission. And what that means is that this is the period of time when the military, commanders on the ground, and forces begin to move not just troops home, but also equipment home. And that is often a very dangerous part of any mission. But in this case, they're also doing that while there is an ongoing and acute threat from ISIS-K. So that is what they are facing. I would note, since you gave me the opportunity.
So in other words, she's not going to say what the threat is, the severity, whether it will fuck up the evacuation. In other words, she just non-answered the dude's entire goddamn question. Both of the points in his question were openly ignored in favor of, well, there's a threat. We briefed on it. If this had been done under the Trump administration, by the way, if there was this lack of care for actually answering the press, that would have been a problem.
That the military made clear to the president that they are committed to continuing this mission, to getting to saving lives, to evacuating more people from the country over the coming days and completing their mission by the 31st. What it will also mean as they move to this retrograde phase is that there will be a reduction of numbers over the next couple of days. And we've been putting those numbers out to all of you twice a day so that you can see how that how we are evacuating people out of the country. Those numbers will go down in in the next couple of days, and you should anticipate that. That is as a result of the retrograde process that needs to take place. But also, I will note that, of course, force protection is front and center and is vital to the mission.
So again, literally no answer to the actual question. What's the specific threat? What's its nature? Is it affecting evacuations? She didn't even yes or no it. She didn't bother to deny it.
One more. President Biden told reporters in the Oval Office during his meeting with the Prime Minister that he talked to Dr. Fauci today.
No follow through whatsoever from this doofus. Which reporter is this? I don't know what network he's from. Can't read his little lanyard there. He probably jelks himself with it later.
About the prospect of giving booster shots after 5 months instead of 8. Could you explain why he's looking at that? What information he has now that justifies the possibility of going that direction?
Well, let me be very clear. The president would rely on any guidance by the CDC and the FDA and his health and medical experts. That guidance continues to be 8 months. That has not changed. So I want to be very clear on that. If they were to change.
Well, whatever Biden's handlers say is the way to go. Biden agrees wholeheartedly, says Jenpsaki. By the way, your question, I'm not going to answer that either. Fuck you.
Change their guidance based on data for any particular group, he would of course abide by that. But for people watching at home, for you all who are reporting out this, nothing has changed about the 8-month timeline as it relates to the boosters.
Why did they go? Why is this conversation even happening? What sort of triggered going from 8 to 5?
Well, I would say I can't. I obviously wasn't sitting in the meeting having the discussion with them on this, but
I'm the press secretary, but I don't know what the fuck is going on. I can't answer your goddamn questions. No, yeah, a seasoned journalist would say, well, Miss Secretary, it's literally why you're here. And then she'd say something snarky or say she's circling back around. She'll get back to it later. She'll answer the question when hell freezes over.
Israel has taken the step of doing 6-month boosters, and the president referenced advice he'd been given from the prime minister. Obviously, we make our own assessments based on our health and medical experts here in the United States, and nothing has changed on that front. So I think it was more likely a reference to that. And obviously, we have ongoing discussions with our health and medical experts about what they look at. Go ahead, Trevor.
Two on Afghanistan. First, I just wanted to get an update on the president's plans, if he has any to meet the troops when their remains are returned to the United States.
Well, there hasn't been an announcement, as you know, by the U.S. military about the timing of that, but I can reiterate what I conveyed yesterday, which is
Biden wants to wait until he knows how many of those dudes are splattered before he has to go and pretend to be sad at the remains, like his dead son, Beau Biden, who he holds up on a pedestal every time that something like that happens. Like at his address earlier yesterday, where he was talking about, well, I know what it feels like to lose a loved one. My son came back from Iraq and got brain cancer. Well, you don't know what it's like. He didn't die in combat. He died as a result of exposure to depleted uranium. By the way, yes, the cat is having a meow fest up on the stairs. She finds it funny. She'll reach up into the actual stairs themselves, like the railing and stuff, and play with them and meow and howl. And I don't know why she does it, but I guess she's amused by it.
the president will look for any opportunity to honor the servicemen and women who lost their lives yesterday. But I don't have anything to announce at this point in time.
Okay. One other thing, there's been some reporting around the Taliban requesting an ongoing diplomatic presence in Kabul from the United States. Could you talk a little bit about what the thinking is here at the White House about whether that's appropriate and how or if that would happen after the end of August?
Well, I would say first that we are looking at ways, and I will refer to our Secretary of State and the State Department here to continue to engage. I'll note something I said. I know this wasn't exactly your question, but just to get it in here.
Hey, I can't answer your question, so here's something totally kind of sort of related that I can answer.
That the president did direct the Secretary of State to continue diplomatic efforts with international partners to secure means for third country nationals and Afghans with visas to leave the country even after the U.S. military presence ends. A part of that would certainly be having a coordinated approach and engagement with the Taliban, because in order to continue to evacuate any American citizen who was not yet prepared to leave, who wants.
You can hear the cat rowling up there. It's more entertaining than Jenpsaki.
To leave third country nationals and Afghans with visas, we will need to coordinate with the Taliban. That does not mean or translate into a presence on the ground. As we've noted, we are pulling our presence out by the 31st, and that has not changed. Go ahead.
Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chair Bob Menendez put out a statement that said, in part, we can't trust the Taliban with American security in terms of in the wake of the attack yesterday. I don't want to get a semantic debate about the word trust, but I guess my question is the coordination with the Taliban the best of bad options right now, or was it the view from the military and from the White House that it was the only option given the dynamics on the ground?
Maybe both. And I will say, I know I won't get into a semantic debate, but I think it's worth repeating as often as I can.
Why is it that this particular press secretary is always acting in a snarky manner towards people that work for networks that literally take marching orders from the Democratic Party? I'm not willing to get into a debate. Hey, listen, little boy, I'm a strong, empowered woman. I'm the press secretary. You're not supposed to be asking them pointed questions sort of things to me. That's basically what it boils down to.
That we don't trust the Taliban. This is not about trust, but there is a reality on the ground. And the reality is the Taliban control large swaths of Afghanistan, including the area surrounding the perimeter of the airport. So by necessity, that is our option to coordinate with to get American citizens out.
So by necessity, it is our option. Talk about goddamn double speech. So she's asked, was it the best of the possible options, all of which suck, or was there no other option? Well, yeah, it was a requirement that I do this, but I chose it anyway. Yeah, I was robbed at gunpoint, but I chose to give my wallet away. Dear God. The amount of doublespeak in this conference already, and we're not long into it since she was an hour late, is already pretty sheer. I've never done a live reaction to Psaki. God, I think Kamala Harris is arguably more listenable. At least then she does the shuck and jive sort of thing with her arms there. And so that's like good for a few cheap laughs. With Jenpsaki, there's nothing even to laugh at. It's just ineptitude.
To get our Afghan partners out, to get individuals who are eligible for the range of programs the United States has out. And we have now evacuated more than 105,000 people as a result of those coordinated, in large part as a result of those coordinated efforts of getting people out. But I will say that as the Department of Defense noted earlier today, clearly something went wrong here in the process that we saw the ISIS-K attack occur yesterday. We don't have additional information to suggest that it was intentional or anything along those lines, which was a question that was asked yesterday. But clearly there was a break.
I see someone up there is saying that there were more attacks. Tandem cross. This just in 3 more attacks, many believed to be dead. I'll need corroboration though. Unless I get 5 or 6 people claiming it and or giving a link or something, I can't corroborate.
Here,
I wouldn't be surprised though.
Just one more kind of following up on what Amar asked. It is rare that you have U.S. officials be this definitive about the security threats that are being faced anywhere in the world. But this has always been something the president has pointed to as to why you wanted to stick to the August 31st deadline. Is there a tangible difference in what you guys are seeing or have seen over the course of the last several days that makes this moment different than what the president was citing a week ago or 10 days ago?
Well, I can't always, I know you're not asking me to, but I can't clearly get into specific details from here. But what
I can't answer your question with specific details. Then why are you employed?
I think that the reason we put this out publicly in the way we did is because yesterday there was a attack by terrorists that killed 13 members of the U.S. Military. And it's important for us as the government to be clear about what threat our U.S. forces are facing on the ground as they continue to implement the mission. And that threat is acute. It is ongoing. Our troops are still in danger, and they are taking the steps they are taking to save lives and evacuate people because of their commitment to the mission. And we felt it was important for people to understand.
Our troops are brave and committed. So how dare you question the situation on the ground that affects the troops, says Jenpsaki, as she once again avoids answering a non-pointed question.
Understand that. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. I also wanted to ask you about the statement you put out. You said that in light of yesterday's attack, the troops there are taking maximum force protection measures at Kabul airport. What resources are available to them that they didn't have yesterday? They have the same number of troops and the same amount of equipment.
Any resources that they need and they request from the president, they will be granted. But I'm not going to get into additional details.
So yeah, they requested the pizza MREs actually, because they all wanted to try them because they're kind of scarce. So they get an extra shipment of MRs. By the way, how is this equipment that they're requesting going to get in to the Kabul airport? You gonna fly it in on the same craft that you take people out on? on a largely unsecured civilian jetliner routed from Qatar? Is that how they're getting that equipment? I smell shenanigans. I don't think they're getting anything extra. I think that's just a buzz term to say, well, we've got them on a higher prep level, which means they get less sleep. That's what this really means.
And then I'm also wondering if the
Horseshit.
president has any plans to speak to the families of the fallen service members?
Yeah, so how this process works is the next of kin notifications would, of course, happen by the Department of Defense, typically in person to next of kin. I believe they gave an update on that this morning, conveyed that that process is ongoing. The president wouldn't then make a call or reach out until that process is completed. And it would be up to the next of kin and the families to determine if they are prepared to receive a call from the president of the United States. And I think it's important to note that this may be the worst day of their lives, and they may or may not feel they're ready to talk to the United States, or they want to talk to the president of the United States, and that's their choice. But I expect once any calls are completed, we'll provide you all an update.
As a one time she actually answers the question is for something that for logistical purposes doesn't even matter. That's the aftermath of your logistic failure involved with that.
And finally, I want to know if the White House has any reaction to the swath of Republican lawmakers who are now calling on the president to resign over this.
Well, Nancy, I have to say that seeing some of this occur or be called for or be put out on Twitter, the backdrop here is the U.S. men and women of the military deployed on the ground are bravely continuing to implement a mission to save lives on the ground. American citizens, Afghan partners, many people that some of these same individuals are calling for us to evacuate. Yesterday, they lost 13 of their own, and the president made absolutely clear that we are going to hunt down, go after, and kill the.
We are going to cunt down the terrorists, she just said. By the way, that's all bravado and bullshit. It's funny, they're trying to cover their asses by appealing to people's patriotism by like saying, well, the brave soldiers are trying to save people. So in other words, Biden is beyond reproach. The fact that he fucked up leading to the situation, you're not allowed to address that because then somehow you're unpatriotic. We're going to cunt down the terrorists. Jenpsaki is going to cunt down the Taliban or ISIS or whoever attacked the airport. But they acknowledge was not necessarily an intentional attack. So if it's not an intentional attack, why did Biden come out and say he was going to cunt down people, Jen? Well, that's because they don't have anything straight. Their entire story. It's like watching interrogation footage of someone who's clearly guilty and all the excuses that they try to make. The elaboration of a bad liar, I believe, was the old line used by Hannibal Lecter.
Terrorists who are responsible. Everyone should be supportive of that.
So you're saying now is not the time.
Everyone needs to support Biden because U.S. Marines are fit and willing to shoot enemies. Because they're good people, Biden, by proxy, he must be good too.
Time for politics.
Correct. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen.
Then she follows up. Look at that goofball from the press, literally handing her the answer to the question that she wanted to hear, leading the question. So it's no time for politics. That's not even what Psaki said. She's basically, she's being political. Well, there's something wrong with you if you question the withdrawal, the way it's being handled, because there are U.S. troops on the ground. And they're brave, and you're a pinko. You hate America because you don't support Joe Biden. They're going to cunt down the ISIS members.
Down and make you pay.
No. He said cunt down. Jenpsaki just reiterated that, Ducey.
That look like? Is he going to order a mission to kill the people responsible, or would he be satisfied if they are captured and brought to trial?
I think he made clear yesterday that he does not want them to live on the earth anymore.
Okay. And
Oh, look at them trying to do the hardball thing. Joe Biden is going to take ISIS back behind the woodshed. You don't even know who's responsible. You just insinuated that it might not have even been intentional. Yeah, someone was playing with a propane tank, because the little Afghan kids, they can't afford a soccer ball. One of them was using a propane tank, kicked it into the gate, and it blew up. It killed a bunch of people. But we're going to hunt them down. We're going to cunt them down and kill them all. We're going to kill those cunts. Only we don't know they're responsible or who they are if they are. What? Who cares? None of these people. This is the only dude in the audience that'll ask a hard question, and he's going to get a bunch of bullshit in response to, because Psaki's ready for that shit.
As the U.S. is coordinating with the Taliban about security for the next couple days, some of the people running security for the Taliban in Kabul are terrorists with millions of dollars worth of bounties on their heads. Are we going to try to bring those known terrorists to justice before we leave the country?
Peter, I think our focus right now is on doing everything we can to get the remaining American citizens who want to depart out of the country, to get our Afghan partners out of the.
That's funny, because I think it was the defense secretary or someone like that was blaming U.S. citizens that had remained in because they ignored some sort of warning that was sent out by the U.S. State Department months ago, even though Biden at the same time was saying that there was no imminent danger that the Taliban would overrun the country. Very interesting. So your priority is getting them out. You don't really care about these people that literally have bounties on them. You know, you could recoup the loss from all those vehicles and shit you left behind from the Taliban if you just hauled them in on the last day. Just go out and black bag them and bring them aboard a plane. You can have $1 billion on a single goddamn plane worth of bounties. Well, then the problem solved. You just paid for all of the drones that you left behind for the Taliban.
The country. As I just said in response to Phil's question, this is not a preferred.
Why do I feel like I'm more aware of political events than most of the press pool that's in that fucking room? Why do I feel like most of you are more qualified to ask these questions than any of the people that are asking Psaki? And why do I feel like literally anyone, a fucking broom, would be better than Jenpsaki as White House press secretary? Is it because it's true? I think it is.
Relationship or a situation that we would have designed if we had started from scratch. I think that's very clear. But right now we need to continue to coordinate. That's our focus for the next couple of days.
And the last one, you said that you think we're going to have a great deal of leverage over the Taliban after we leave. You think we're going to have more leverage with no troops on the ground?
By the way, he's the only one she addresses by his first name. Did you notice that as well? A little bit of a linguistic aside here. That's because she's combative with him. She knows that he's going to be combative with her. They have a love-hate relationship. They probably go and snort coke and have an orgy together after the show.
Afghanistan than we do with thousands of troops on the ground in Afghanistan.
Well, to be clear, one of the steps that the president directed his Secretary of State to take, which was in my statement this morning, was to engage with our international partners to determine what the path forward looks like. And there are key components here. The Taliban are going to want a functioning airport. So do we. There's an enormous amount of
well, you're going to have to share that airport then. That's going to be a problem. She's getting all blushy talking to Peter Ducey. Some sexual charge in that room, I think, at the
economic
moment.
leverage that the global community has. That's something we need to work with our international partners on. As we have more to update you on, we will update you on it.
In terms of the president's commitment to make those who were responsible for yesterday's attack pay, is the president committed that even after American troops leave Afghanistan, he would be willing to send in American troops, even in some covert form, to complete that mission, to kill those who are responsible?
I'm not.
Oh, don't worry. We don't do that anymore, remember? This is Obama's acolyte. We use drones now. By the way, why is he asking this question? Why doesn't he ask, hey, specifically by what means are you going to bring people to justice if you don't have an air base nearby that you can actually use? That's the big problem.
I'm going to get into details from here on what hunting down and going after the terrorists who killed 13 service members will entail or detail. And I don't think the Department of Defense will either, but that commitment will remain until it's done.
I bet we can guess that it involves invading some neighboring country. Well, we've got plenty of opium stocked up, boys, but, Pakistan over there is looking kind of ripe. And Iran's always on the menu. Maybe Tajikistan, maybe Uzbekistan, who knows? Maybe we accidentally invade Armenia because George W. Bush wrote a strongly worded email.
Suffice to say, it means the potential exists.
We're going to cut them down.
Afghanistan, even after that.
Again, I'm not going to get into the detail of what that would require, but his commitment remains until it's done.
Understood. In terms of the commitment, just so it's clear for Americans right now, just 4+ days away from the August 31st deadline, is the White House's commitment still at this point that all Americans who want to leave Afghanistan will be able to leave before that date?
That is what we are focused on, committed to, and working.
So she will not confirm that all Americans that want to leave will be able to leave. That is literally what she just said. We're focused on it. We're committed to trying to make that happen. Will she give a guarantee? No. That's because they expect there's a very real possibility that a few people will be left behind.
toward. Go ahead.
Back on the diplomatic efforts, it's Friday, the deadline is Tuesday. What more can you tell us about these talks the president's directed the Secretary of State to undertake? How close is an agreement? Will we have a diplomatic presence in Afghanistan on September 1st?
That's not what we're predicting, nor are we predicting we're going to have we're not predicting a diplomatic presence on the ground in Afghanistan.
That's not even what diplomacy means, though, Jen, because her role is butt washer for Joe Biden. That's not what diplomacy means. That means, hey, are we going to actually have talks with them that'll be meaningful? Will there be any possibility of having some sort of parlay, some sort of discourse? Well, the answer is no, because they don't respect you. They'll be busily talking to Chinese troops will probably end up in Kabul. You're not going to be able to do anything after that. What are you going to do? Bomb them and provoke a nuclear war? Idiot.
We're talking about is coordinating with our international partners in order to determine what the path forward looks like so we can continue to evacuate third country nationals, Afghans with visas, and any American citizens who have not yet departed because they're not prepared to depart after that period of time. And that will require coordination with our international partners. It will also require continued engagement in some capacity with the Taliban.
To be clear, are you suggesting there will not be an American diplomatic presence in Afghanistan?
I think we've been clear. We're pulling our personnel out by the 31st. I don't think we've made any other assessment. I'll let the State Department speak to any other plans beyond that.
One more question. I think you indicated yesterday you believe the president has all the legal authority.
This dude looks like Mr. Bean with a mask on. By the way, thank you, sorta retard. Sticks, I am sorta. Is the president sorta? Given $100, so that's a lot of Red Bull. Yeah, he is on dementia. His cognitive decline is quite evident.
He needs to attack ISIS-K. Is it the White House's view that the president can lean on the AUMF that was passed right after 9/11 to do so?
I can just assure you the president and the military feel they have all authorities they need to attack ISIS-K. Go ahead.
Yeah, they have all the authority they need because Congress decided to lay down, not do its job, and give it to W. And since then, they've never rescinded it. So yeah, the president has the ability to warmonger in other countries and doesn't even need due constitutional congressional approval. Isn't that wonderful? And all the Democrats voted for it too, because they were all a bunch of cowards and pussies after 9/11. Interesting, 9/11 would be brought up in the context of the Afghanistan situation, considering this situation at the airport, by the way.
To follow up on Steve's question, the G20, some members of the G20 are pushing for a special meeting on Afghanistan, Italy, India. Is there a discussion yet of having a date for a special G20 meeting on Afghanistan?
It's a great question. It would really happen and be coordinated through the State Department, Jennifer. So I would refer you to them. I expect they'll have more details on their planned engagements.
But when Blinken from the State Department comes out and says stuff, it's all a bunch of bullshit anyway. People are asking you because it's your job to answer questions a couple of times a week. And she's not answering shit. I don't know. I think I'll watch one more question from her, and I'm going to turn her off because I can't stand anymore.
International partners in the coming days.
And then in the Oval Office talked about how if diplomacy fails with Iran, he would be willing to look at other options. Can you share a little bit more about what other options might
Oh, now they're warmongering after the Iranians. What a great idea. Hey, we got out of Afghanistan, says Joe Biden. Well, shit. We're short of war. We have to invade somebody else.
Well, any president always maintains a range of options, but I would tell you that our objective and our first priority and focus is on a diplomatic path forward. And that's where we're putting our energies at this point in time. Go ahead.
I know that there have been a lot of questions about this, but I just really want to try to get some clarity around after August 31st, for people who will still be on the ground in Afghanistan and want to get out. Does the U.S. right now have a vision of a process that they will use to get people out after August 31st? And what is the commitment after August 31st? Is it absolute? If you want to get out of Afghanistan?
All right, I'll just answer for her. Well, something. We'll get to that when it happens. We're hoping to get everyone out beforehand. But ultimately, yeah, it'll basically be that there'll be hostages. It'll be a Jimmy Carter hostage crisis if that happens. I think genuinely the White House is hoping they'll be able to get everyone out, but I don't think they're hopeful about it. I think that they're worried that there'll be a handful of U.S. journos, some college kids, maybe a professor or two left behind, disillusioned or incapable of travel for debility or something, and they'll be left behind. The Taliban will say, hey, you're worth a lot of money. You know, that'll buy a lot of 50 cals. Biden only left us so many, and we might run out. So we're going to need, I'm sorry, but you got to go in the gulag now until they pay for you.
And you are, you know, that you help the U.S. military, you're an Afghan, you'll be able to get out. If you're a green card holder or someone else who wants to get out, is the U.S. guaranteeing that you will be able to get out?
I don't think we can guarantee, but what we can do is work toward, and this is what the president directed the Secretary of State to continue diplomatic efforts with international partners to secure means for third country nationals, Afghans with visas who may be eligible for our programs, of course, any American citizen who remains in country to leave the country even after the U.S. military presence ends. There's a means of mechanisms for that. Those conversations.
The year is 2022, and Elon Musk smiles on Twitter as he offers the Taliban $1 billion to release all the hostages, and it works, or something like that. That's probably what'll end up happening. Him or Jeff Bezos or some shit like that, they'll end up having to get involved because Psaki doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. By the way, there's a reason twice as many people were watching this stream as the White House one. I'm not going to continue to make you sit through Jenpsaki because, I mean, it's the same shit every single time she has a presser. Although, here's a little bit of an update. Now, close that out. I do believe, unfortunately, that over the next couple of days, you haven't seen the worst of ISIS attacks. I think it's likely that there will be more strikes. And the idea that the troops there are more prepped because of some magical fairy dust shipment or something from the White House, that's not the way the logistics works. Right now, everything's routed there through Qatar and similar countries, Kuwait especially as well. Well, it takes time to fly military goods from a base or some shit in to unload it, to get it actually to the barricades to be used. What are you talking about? 12 hours or something like that, probably, to get it all in place. They don't have any additional equipment they didn't have the other day during those attacks. Unfortunately, we're still relying upon the Taliban for exterior security. So yeah, goodness, I got some lime down the wrong way, I think. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'm going to go off here because Jenpsaki is just going to do what she's been doing. And I got limed down the wrong the hole, I think, a little bit into my lungs. So that's about all. Jesus. Don't worry, I won't die or anything like that. I'll give an update, proof of life, something that Biden does every other day. And that's about all.